and thanks from the family. All of you knew that Chandrahasan was a dedicated family man. A funeral is a ceremony respecting and remembering the life of a person who has died. We have come today to honour for all the many achievements in his life, his great love of the family, and above all, let's remember what he means to each of us, supporting each other in times of difficulty, and of course to say goodbye to Chandrahasan.
Good morning. Thank you all for being here today. I wanted to say just a few words about the life of this man we're all gathered here to honor and pay our respects to. How do I summarize his life? By what he was to his family. Chandra to some, Chandrana to others from his and older generations. Chandra Chittappa, Periyappa, Chandra uncle, Tai uncle to the next generation. Mavaru to my mother. Mr. Chandrahasan to his in-laws. Appa to me and my sister, and later to my wife. Trichitata to my son. How do I define him? By the things he did in his life. A young boy who washed dishes and cleaned tables in a small hotel in Madurai in exchange for food for him and his friends. A young poultry farmer from Paramakudi who won an award at the district level. A law graduate from Belgaum who reveled more in playing truant than in mastering the intricacies of the Indian Penal Code. A proud NCC cadet who would wear his uniform all day. A motorcycle salesman in New Delhi who also trained his customers in the art of motorcycle riding. One who practically broke ground for Simco meters in Trichy, a company he would eventually leave after 18 years of dedicated and loyal service. And then started again from scratch as an entrepreneur and ran several companies for the next 30 years. A partner and a film producer for Kamal films for several decades. An avid music enthusiast and singer. A Rotarian, a dedicated, long-standing, distinguished Freemason, cricket player, tennis player, a martial arts student, a lifelong crossword puzzle enthusiast, a voracious reader and a P.G. Wodehouse fan, an actor, a courageous man capable of standing his ground, maintaining his equanimity, and doing the right thing, even in incredibly tense situations. In the end, I can only truly describe him in terms of what he was to me. My father, my guide, my philosopher, and most incredibly, and entirely due to the generosity of his spirit, my true friend.
Friends, like I'm not prepared for this day, I have not prepared my speech either. A very eloquent man, he always believed in lesser words and truly believed that deeds will explain a man better. I understood him through his deeds. It was an easier job for Nirmal to describe Mr. Chandrahasan. For me, if I were to call him my brother, it won't suffice. He's my father, friend, partner, and he would have insisted that I write my speech and would have gone over this. In his absence, I had no one to run through my speech. Here I am, unprepared, as I am for his passing away. Somewhere in the middle of his life, my mother gave him the responsibility of turning into a father instead of a brother. He aspired to be many things, succeeded in most of it, and He was the first actor in the family. I became an actor after him and made it my life's profession. But now I realize that he's a better actor. I've said it before. For quite some time, I truly believed he was only my brother. He had been much more, will always be. To all those who have lost him and will miss him, I have no words to console. Time, they say, is a healer. But over time, we're going to realize there aren't many people like Mr. Chandrahasan. Everybody remembers him as an immaculate human being. And none of it was granted to him. He earned that position. He became that. He deserved the respect that he gets. And he would have preferred something as simple as that. Back home, there are people waiting to make speeches and speeches, trying to outdo each other and show people, others, the audience there, how much he was their hero. To some, he'll be the only hero. Me, for example. And I'll try and continue to live with whatever little I mimicked and imbibed from him. Thank you, Anna. Papa. Partner. Will sorely miss you. Thank you.
As a daughter, I looked up to him to not only for, to give me sound, sage advice, but I looked at him to curb my impatience, tone down my over-enthusiasm, and to remind me every now and again that doing the right thing is far more important than being right. And he would, like my brother said, impart the soundest of advice and the most profound of philosophies, and he would lace it with humor, so that he made it more palatable to us. One of the things that really, really I will never ever forget is an advice he gave me when I was struggling with a situation where I was trying to say, I'm trying to make them understand. I'm trying to tell them this is what I think and this is what needs to be done, but they're not willing to listen to me. And he smiled and he said, that's because you're going about it the wrong way, Ma. You know what the approach is like, is this. When you know that this is something that needs to be done, you first start it off by saying, do you think this is something that you would like to do? And then you give them time. Let them absorb it, assimilate it, let them understand it, and then wait for them. See whether they act on your suggestion. If they don't, then you go back to them and say, don't you think this needs to be done? And then even then after some time, if they don't, that's when you say, I think this is what needs to be done. But he didn't stop there. He said, after that, if they still don't do what you suggest or advise, if it's someone whom you truly love and whom you truly care for, what you do is you stand beside them, go with their decision and defend that decision. That was the kind of man that he was. And he was, when people saw him, they saw this wise, dignified, as you used to say, a man with equipoise, and a very, very strong man with very clear opinions and principles which he never thrust on anybody else. And in a crisis, he would stand beside you as you made your mistakes and faced the consequences, and not once did he ever say, I told you so. And believe me, I made so many of those mistakes. He never said, I told you so. He just supported me. He advised me, took me with my mistakes, took me along with him. And when I faced it, he made sure I was okay even then. To me, he was the most wonderfully indulgent father. The past 20 years, when we picked up the phone, we never said hello. We just said, everybody loves you. He would say it, and I would say, everybody loves you too. And it was not just our way of telling each other that we loved each other, but it was also a game that we played with each other. And it was amazing how much meaning you could put in those 3 words. There was an everybody loves you, which was, yes, what is it? And there was an everybody loves you that said, I'm not going to be able to talk to you now, can I call you later? And there was the last one which I loved the most, which was the everybody loves you, which was, now I'm going to make you laugh. Because he would sing it in the most comical tunes. Each time it was a different tune that he sang, and I would dial the number, he'd pick up the phone and he would sing this to me, and I'd just burst out laughing. And it was, like you said, that child that he became to play with another child. Actually, Appa was born a British citizen. And I don't think he ever gave up his British citizenship. In his heart, he was always British. He loved this country, the people, the culture, the kindness and the consideration and the dignity. And he just so loved this country. And when he last visited me, he spent a lot of time, and we went around looking at the countryside. We stayed in little barn conversions and little cottages. And he said, I never thought I would see so much of this country. And he saw the Magna Carta, and he was so excited about it, being a lawyer himself. And I could see that not only was he marveling at the beauty of the countryside, he was again falling all over again in love with the people and everything that is so British. And I think it is so befitting that this is the farewell that we give him here in this country that he loved the most. Thank you, Appa. Everybody loves you.
அன்பு ஊதியம் பெற்றுச் செய்யும் காரியம் அல்ல என உற்றார்க்கும் உறவினர்க்கும் உள்ளத்தில் உரைக்கும்படி வாழ்ந்து காட்டியவர். ஊருக்கே உபதேசம், உள்ளுக்குள் வேறென்று இருந்ததே இல்லை அவர். தான் சுவையா உணவதையும் விருந்துக்கு வைக்காதார். தனக்கியலா செயலெதையும் பிறர் செய்ய பணிக்காதார். முன்னோர்கள் செய்தவையே வினையென்று கொள்ளாதார். பின்வரும் சந்ததிக்கு புதுவினையை தந்து சென்றார். இவர் போலே இல்லை என்றே இழவழுவோர் கதறிடுவர். இவர் போல்தான் ஆகவென இயன்றவரை முயன்றிடுவேன். இழந்ததைச் சொல்லி எழும் வேளையது கழிந்ததுவே. கற்றதையும் பெற்றதையும் போற்றுகின்ற வேளை இது. நாளைக்கோர் நடைபாதை போட்டுவிட்டு போனவரை அடியெடுக்கும் போதெல்லாம் அன்றாடம் நினைத்திடுவோம்.